Hey everyone, welcome to Recess with Moms. I'm Sonia, a teacher and mom, just trying to juggle it all without spilling my coffee.
And I'm Sydney, also a teacher, also a mom, and also constantly losing my tea somewhere. We're so excited to have you here with us for our new episode.
In this podcast, we dive into everything from parenthood and teacher life to balancing all the chaos in between. We'll share the highs, the lows, and plenty of laughs along the way. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just in need of a good laugh, this is a place for you.
Today's episode is about things we wish parents knew. So grab some snacks, a drink of your choice, and let's get into it.
We want to begin by saying that everything we will be sharing today is public information. It is all on the TEA website, which is the Texas Education Agency website. So everything we're referring to is Texas-based. Each state has different laws, and we're referring to Texas only. Now, the reason we want to share this is because we know how busy parents may be and may not have the time to look up their parental rights or the children's rights.
This subject hits differently for us as parents that have children that are now in public education. This episode, I would say, is specifically for parents that are under like the SPED umbrella. Our goal with this episode is to help educate parents who don't have the time, but they want to stay active in their child's education.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as a teacher, I've always had a different perspective. My perspective has shifted when my daughter was evaluated and qualified for special services. I learned so much when I experienced it as a parent, so there's a lot of information to share. However, we will be giving you the Cliff Notes version. You must do your own due diligence and read the parent guide that we will be talking about.
Yeah. We're going to get in all the juicy details.
Yes.
I'm excited. The top 3 things that we wish parents knew are 1, you are allowed to request testing for your child. 2, you are allowed to ask questions. And 3, know that everything has a timeline. Like the district has a timeline that it has to follow so it can be in compliance with the state. So that brings me to point number 1. Parents may request a referral at any time. That means like it could be Christmas and you could be like, I want to refer my child for anything. Get at it, okay? You can do it. You know, even if your child's not receiving like RTI interventions, you can do it. It's in the handbook.
Absolutely. And the handbook she is referring to is, drum roll please, it's right here. I so happen to have a copy of it, okay? It's right here. It says TEA, and this is what it looks like, okay? Now, if your child has not gone through the ARD process or you're not going through an ARD meeting, you haven't received this yet. But you can find this online on the TEA website, which will be linked down there. Okay. Now, she's referring to that parents may request referral at any time. What that means is that if you suspect that your child may have a learning disability, whether that's dyslexia, whether they're having speech issues, whether you think maybe a retention issue, anything that you have noticed, you're noticing a pattern, you are allowed to request a referral. That means that you are requesting for your child to be evaluated. And like she said, they don't have to go, did we say this part?
You don't have to go through an RTI system.
Yes, in an RTI system, for those that do not know, it's basically your child being put into intervention. So your child does not even have to start that process at school. You are suspicious, you've talked to the teacher, and the teacher is also has the same concerns, then you can request the testing. You can email your teacher, let them know, just say in writing, hey, I would like my child evaluated, and these are my concerns. Or you can even verbally say it. You don't have to get it written.
Is that on page 4?
It is right here.
On page 4.
You can even verbally say that, and then that educator, staff member has to now inform whoever is responsible for that, for those testing things at your school. Okay, so it is highly encouraged to just get it in writing, so it's just time stamped, and then the date can start, the timeline can begin. So yes, so it's all right here. Again, you have to read through every word so you really know what your rights are. So that was point 1, right? Now point 2 is you are welcome to ask any questions. Anything. Anything?
Anything.
Is the sky blue or no?
Anything regarding your child.
Yes,
Okay.
anything. So let's say that basically we're at the point where the child has already been tested and they say, you know, your child has dyslexia or your child has a speech impediment and they have qualified for SPED. Well, any question that you may have, you know, as us being on the other side, being teachers, like we have certain knowledge of it.
Yeah.
But we're also like welcome any questions. We don't expect parents to know everything, so just don't feel silly if you have any question at all. Some places will advertise this knowledge. They'll well, first of all, it's the law. They have to absolutely give this to you. They do have to give this to you. Now, whether you read it or not, that's your problem.
On you.
Yeah, that's on you. But certain timelines and certain things like that, some places I think are better about honoring them and staying in compliance. So you just make sure you keep up with your timeline, okay? Put it on your Google Calendar. Okay, so we're still on point 2. You're welcome to ask any questions. Now, when my daughter qualified for SPED, I had to, you know, write my own questions. And some of the questions that I asked were, what are her goals? Did she reach her last goals? Because my daughter's she's had her services for a year now, so she already had her initial goals, and this was for her yearly annual review. So I asked, well, did she reach her last goals? What data? Where's your data? Where's her log? Like, how often was she actually pulled? Were her minutes met? You know, this is all part of any child under the SPED umbrella. They have to reach those minutes, and if those minutes are not met, then by law, the district has to make up those minutes. So for example, let's say that my daughter qualified for speech, and I'm saying this as a parent, my child did not get, we were short on speech pathologists, so they started her minutes later in the year. Well, I had to go and make sure and ask, have her minutes been made up? Well, how many minutes has she received? So just things like that, and that's why this is good to read, and it's very important to read because you know, who cares more than a parent does?
And that's what I say. I want to go back to your voice matters.
Yes.
You're advocating for her. You're part of her education.
Yes.
You know, and that's needed. So yeah, okay, cool.
So
those are great questions.
Yeah.
Actually.
And then another question that I also asked was because again she qualified for speech. And I asked if her speech pathologist is qualified, so she's certified. I mean, is she certified? And she was not certified. Who was supervising her? Because if she is not certified, those minutes do not count. So someone has to supervise her. Someone has to oversee her. Someone has to go over, make sure that basically speech pathologist in training is being trained properly.
Afraid to ask questions either about this. Like if there's something you don't understand, ask. You know, don't feel ashamed or sad to ask a question. Like I had to ask you many questions when I was reading this because I don't know if I read it right.
Because it's a lot of verbiage, but I think I learned it best though as a parent though, because it was personal to me. Again, we're responsible for different things when we are in there as playing the role of a teacher. It's so different.
It is different.
But you go in and you're the parent and you know, everybody's on your side. Everybody wants the best for the student, but nobody knows that child like you do.
That's true.
And then nobody will advocate
like
as hard as you will. Yeah. So, and I also this was important for us to share with other parents because I also saw my husband struggle with what any of this meant.
Yeah. And
he read it through. And I had to go through and like highlight the really important parts and explain to him like, look, like this is a timeline. That means that they have this many days to respond to this. Or, hey, according to TEA, they're supposed to start her services within this many days. Well, then I got to start asking, you know, I started asking my daughter, hey, have you been pulled for anything? And she's like, no. So then I started emailing and sure enough, the services haven't started yet. So, but I only knew that because I knew my rights.
Yeah.
Just another FYI that I learned also as a parent, okay, was if the district ever lacks resources. So, for example, my daughter is in speech, and apparently there's a shortage in speech pathologists. Well, the district is still responsible to provide the speech to my daughter. So just because they're short in speech pathologists doesn't mean that it's my problem or my daughter's problem. That means that the district has to now hire out a third party or a contracted speech pathologist. So that is your right. So don't wait for your kid to be December, January and have not had any minutes. You have to also hold your district accountable for what they're supposed to be doing anyway, according to TA.
And point number 3. The district is responsible for following the timelines given by the state. One of the biggest timelines is if you request for an evaluation, districts are encouraged to follow a 15 school day timeline. So once the parent has signed the consent, the school district has 45 school days to conduct the evaluation. Then once the evaluation is completed, the school has 30 calendar days to hold an ARD meeting to review the results of the evaluation. It's in this handbook as well.
Yes.
So how did you feel prior going into this meeting? Like, did you feel like you were informed enough? Just like, as a parent, I'm asking in the parent's perspective.
I was just not expecting that question there. So glad you asked. So it was really different because, we have the teacher role. So we go in as a teacher. And I think it was different when it was my own child. I was sent that beauty right there in an email. And I had to read through it. Like, I really had to read through every single word. Not that I wasn't aware of it before as a teacher, but you have certain responsibilities as a teacher that you bring to an ARD, and I always handled that side. But now when you go in as a parent, you're responsible for other things. Yeah. So that's why I had to really read that through to make sure that I knew my rights and the rights of my child that has now qualified for SPED services. But no, I did not feel ready. I wasn't really informed, but again, the district gives you that, and it's the parent's responsibility really to read through it and know kind of what to ask for their child.
I've never read this, so like as a parent's perspective,
right.
As a teacher perspective, I can read it and I semi-understand it. But as a parent, does this help you like form the questions that you were thinking of? I mean, because to me, reading it as a teacher, like I can understand it and regurgitate it a little bit better. But like as a parent, reading this,
if I was just a parent and never a teacher, there would have been so many words I would have had to look up and research. But because of my teaching background, I was able to understand a lot of the verbiage that was in there. But no, I mean, when my husband was reading it and I was explaining things to him, I have to teach him and explain to him, oh, this is what this means. Like, a committee has to consist of these people, and when goals are made, it's because of this. So if I got to see kind of my husband go through it for the first time as a person that's never been in education, and I had to guide him. So I can't imagine people that never, I can't imagine. It was my husband. Like, I have the perfect example. He was lost. So he got the same email that I got, but I think a lot of us just put a lot of trust in the district and, but it's really not their responsibility to teach you everything. It's really you as a parent, because they are sending you the information. Now, you decide to read it, well, that's up to you. So yeah, if I had never been a teacher, I would have not really understood half of what's being said.
I was just curious on your questions, because those were really good questions. So.
They were very specific questions, and a lot of it was due to that guide, and a lot of it helped me because I'm a teacher and I know what I've seen in the classroom.
But stepping in, if I didn't know, ask anyways. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Please help me. I'm not understanding what this verbiage means.
Ask all the questions, and then ask for proof. Like, ask for documentation. Ask for that so they know that you're an involved parent and that you are paying attention to what your the goals are being put on your child. In summary, knowledge is power. Parents, you must read your rights. We have linked below the parent guide for the state of Texas.
I know this episode was a little bit more like serious, but this was an important topic that kept coming up between the both of us to discuss. Yeah. Especially during this time of year, I feel like.
If I were a parent without a teaching background, I know that I would want educators to share this with me. You can thank us later.
Again, it's all in this handbook.
Yes.
We're just trying to give you, like you said, the Cliff Notes version of it. Well, that's the end of episode 3.
Thank you so much for tuning into Recess with Moms. We appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us.
Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or someone looking for laughs, we are so grateful to have you here with us.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, comment, and share.
Please feel free to connect with us on social media. Our social media info is down below.
Until next recess!